Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Charles Shamanato for TVS Nightline. Let's begin with the headlines tonight. Gabungan Party Sarawak, or GPS, held a Sarawak State Election Appreciation Night for its members at the Borneo Convention Centre, Kuching, BCCK tonight. The ceremony celebrates the efforts, services and sacrifices of each of its members' role at ensuring the coalition's stellar victory in the 12th Sarawak State election. In his speech, Chief Minister Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tunopeng said the recently announced Sarawak Cabinet was neither static nor unchangeable. Commenting further, he said the selection of the cabinet members was done and finalized after taking into consideration various factors, including the composition of parties in the ruling Gabungan Party Sarawak coalition, constituencies and ethnic groups in the state. On December 30, Abang Johari announced the new Sarawak cabinet comprising 10 ministers and 26 assistant ministers. The state cabinet sworn in before the Yang Dipertuan Negeri Tun Pehin Sri Abdul Taib Mamun in ceremony held at the State Legislative Assembly Complex on Tuesday.
Tapi alhamdulillah dengan adanya persetujuan ini kita dapat mengadakan pilihan raya dan kita terpaksa bekerja di dalam SOP yang telah ditetapkan. Sebab itu saya ucap tahniah kepada saudara yang telah bekerja kena mengikuti SOP.
The governance of inclusive growth requires a whole-of-government approach that aligns vision, inclusives and delivering mechanisms. Hence, inclusive approach are essential for shaping policies that are closer to society's needs. Sarawak newly appointed Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Sim Hui Hian said his appointment is proof that the political condition in Sarawak is not only stable but is also inclusive and that no community is left behind. Sim also added that with his appointment, he will continue his efforts to implement various developments in Sarawak to ensure that the 2030 post-COVID-19 development strategy goals can be achieved.
Thanks CN Abang Jo for appointing me as one of the chief ministers. It shows that in Sarawak we are very inclusive. We got the Dayak, we got the Malay, and we got the Chinese. And Sarawak moving ahead, you know that we are going to have post-COVID development plan 2030, and in which we are going to raise the income of everybody per household from about less than 5,000 to 15,000. So there's a lot of work to do because everybody must work together for us to achieve that. The other thing is the next 10 years on the post-COVID development plan is extremely exciting because it will lead to the best of Sarawak, because not only on long-standing infrastructure that we haven't been doing, but I mean it also develop in the new area like digital economy and so on, and then the new talents that we need to carry.
He added that among the development plans that he will focus on is the construction of a cancer treatment center to benefit cancer patients in the state.
With the financial independence that Sarawak has, we have our own money now, and such as the cancer hospital. I mean the hospital should be funded by Ministry of Health, but because CN Abang Jo said that we will do the funding first, so that our people don't suffer, and then the KL can pay us later. So these are the type of things that we will do for people in Sarawak, and if we stay united, we stay together, I think that the best of Sarawak is coming, and then so everyone can be very proud to be a Sarawakian.
The appointment saw Dr. Sim following his father's footsteps, who is a former Deputy Chief Minister, the late Tan Sri Dato' Amar Sim Ken Hung, who was also SUPP President.
Efforts to bridge the gap of development between urban and rural areas pose a huge challenge for the government. Newly appointed Assistant Minister for Youth, Sport and Entrepreneur Development, Datuk Gerald Rentap Jabu said his ministry will ensure that every walk of life in Sarawak, regardless of where they are from, will enjoy the same facilities, especially pertaining to the youth development agenda.
Mereka akan dapat menikmati apa-apa yang kita dapat dari segi digital, dan sebagainya. Karena kalau tidak ada infrastruktur seperti ini, susah untuk mereka untuk mencapai yang lebih lagi dari segi dari segi mereka yang di bandar dan luar bandar. Kita tak mahu melihat anak-anak kita masih menaiki gunung ataupun bukit untuk mereka mendapatkan line internet dan sebagainya. Tapi ini satu cabaran dan kita terpaksa bukan saja dari segi kementerian, kita juga mesti bekerjasama dengan Kementerian Utility dan Telekomunikasi untuk merangkumi semualah. Ini satu cabaran yang besar.
Similarly, road safety will be the chief cause for Assistant Road Minister Dato' Harry JINEP. This, he said, is important to prevent untoward accidents which will claim another innocent life.
Yang pertama sekali tentulah keselamatan jalan raya dari Bau ke Batu Kitang. Jalan yang terlalu teruk akibat jalan yang tidak baik dan banyak kemalangan telah berlaku di situ. Kita akan mencari cara yang lebih baik macam mana keselamatan pengguna jalan raya dapat dipertingkatkan. Itu usaha pertamalah ya, keselamatan jalan raya itu penting. Okay?
When asked about his team readiness for the possible flood situation, he said the disaster task team has been mobilized since last month.
Sebelum pilihan raya sudah kita sediakan untuk menghadapi jika berlakunya banjir di kawasan. Ya, kita memang sudah ada task force yang sediakan dengan perahu dan sebagainya, dengan engine boat dan persediaan di setiap kawasan yang sering dilanda banjir. Kita mempunyai task force yang sudah bersedia.
On the other hand, state and district-level disaster operation control centres in Sarawak and Sabah have been ordered to make preparations, including activating on-site control posts to face the possibility of floods. National Disaster Management Agency said the order was issued following a forecast of a monsoon surge capable of bringing continuous rain issued by the Malaysian Meteorological Department, or Met Malaysia.
Nanma also said that the Social Welfare Department needed to ensure the availability of supplies for forward bases in Sarawak and Sabah in the event of flooding. A significant weather forecast for the period of January 6 to 12, issued by Met Malaysia today, stated that a cold front is expected to occur in Sarawak from Sunday, January 9th. The department said that the conditions would cause increased humidity that would potentially lead to continuous rain and flooding, especially in the central and west divisions of Sarawak, and at the same time thunderstorms may occur throughout the country in the mornings and evenings till night. Flood operations nationwide have involved 17,901 responders and utilized 2,917 assets from various agencies.
Welcome back to the Nightline. Now following the next update. In efforts to reduce the people's cost of living and to give consumers a cheaper price option, more people-centric programs will be continued this year. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, KPD and HEP said this is to offset the rising cost of living.
It included sales campaigns such as back to school as well as during festive seasons to give consumers a choice to make planned purchases. The Keluarga Malaysia Maximum Price Control Scheme, which was launched on December 7 of last year to stabilize the prices of basic necessities, will be extended to February 4th. Whereas the Malaysian Family Sales Program that began on December 2nd will continue to be held until March. Moreover, the Cashless Retail Transaction Initiative, the Retail Digitalization Initiative, would be expanded nationwide after being implemented in Terengganu and Sarawak last year. The initiative, among others, is aimed at encouraging the registration of e-wallets by consumers in making purchase transactions and creating a cashless community ecosystem. Meanwhile, enforcement operations will continue to be carried out via Ops Chakna, Ops Pasar, and Ops Menu to ensure that no parties will take advantage of the floods that hit the country.
54 deaths due to floods have been recorded across the country so far, while 2 other victims are still unaccounted for.
Bukit Aman Internal Security and Public Order Department Director Dato' Hazani Ghazali said the state with the highest death toll was recorded by Selangor at 25, followed by Pahang 21, Kelantan 4, Sabah 3, and Negeri Sembilan 1. A total of 13,322 flood victims were recorded nationwide as of noon today. On the floods in Segamat, Johor, Hazani said 4 villages in the district were cut off by floods today, but the situation was still under control.
The national agri-food sector suffered losses of around 67 ringgit.72 as 5,000 livestock breeders and farmers were affected by the recent floods that hit several states. Deputy Agriculture and Food Industry Minister Dato' Sri Ahmad Hamzah cited the example of the agri-food sector in Melaka, where over 275 livestock breeders and farmers suffered losses of around 2.83 million ringgit. He also said losses are expected to rise as there are still areas that have not recovered fully from the floods. Now AirAsia Group Berhad will table the proposal at its Extraordinary General Meeting or EGM on January 27, 2022 to seek approval from its shareholders in its plans to rename itself as Capital A Berhad. The budget airline stated that the name change was intended to provide a better reflection of the group's core business and future endeavours in tandem with its rapid transformation from its beginnings as an airline into a digital travel and lifestyle services group, which continues to gain strong momentum.
According to AirAsia, its board of directors believes that a proposed name change is in the best interest of the firm after considering all elements of it. The meeting, to be conducted virtually, aimed at examining the change and, if deemed appropriate, passing with or without modifications the special resolution to give effect to the proposed change of name. AirAsia on Monday announced that it is proposing to change its name to Capital A Berhad, and the proposed name has been approved by the Companies Commission of Malaysia and reserved by the company on December 28, 2021.
The National Sports Council, or NSC, is reviewing the allowances of national athletes who have been given new contracts this year based on their performance since 2018. NSC Director General Dato' Ahmad Shapawi Ismail said the restructuring was carried out following the current state of the country's economy, which was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and as well as the flood disaster that hit the country recently.
Shapawi said the slight reduction in allowances are justified to the current or best performance, and he said it is fairer and commensurate with the medals won. According to him, the gold medalists of the SEA Games and the ASEAN Para Games will receive an allowance of 2,000 ringgit, while the silver and bronze medalists will receive 800 ringgit. He said the training allowance for athletes who won medals at the ASEAN Games, ASEAN Para Games, and the Commonwealth Games was the same, with a gold medalist getting an allowance rate of 4,500 ringgit, followed by 4,000 ringgit for silver medalist and 3,500 ringgit for bronze medalist. Meanwhile, 7,500 ringgit would await the gold medalist of Olympic or Paralympic Games, followed by 7,000 ringgit for silver medalist and 6,000 ringgit for bronze medalist. Apart from that, athletes who do not get a medal but are still listed in the NSC training programs will get 800 ringgit, while the backup athletes receive 500 ringgit. Ahmad Sapawi explained that the total training allowance did not include accommodation, food and drink, training and training infrastructure provided to athletes. Asked whether the athletes were aware of the review of the allowance, he said they seemed to understand the current situation in the country, which caused the allowance rate to be restructured. In the meantime, he said NSC identified 248 regular athletes and 45 para-athletes who were listed in this year's training program, while the backup training program saw 178 regular athletes and 22 para-athletes. He said athletes who are not listed in the training program should accept the fact that their opportunities should be given to other athletes who perform better than them.
And now on to the next highlight. As both countries mark the 40th anniversary of their Look East policy this year, Japan will work to further strengthen its relations with Malaysia. Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission of Japan Embassy in Malaysia, Araki Kaname, said throughout this year, Japan will work together with Malaysian friends to celebrate the achievements within the past 40 years.
In addition, Kaname said focus will also be given on strengthening the bilateral ties in the future. Malaysia, under the then fourth Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, introduced the LEP in February of 1982, with the objective of emulating exemplary Japanese work culture as well as technology expertise in developing the country. Araki said under the policy, some 26,000 Malaysians had gone to Japan for their studies and training in the past 40 years. And upon their return to Malaysia, they have been playing an indispensable role in various fields as a bridge between the two countries.
Adoption in 1982, about 26,000 Malaysians have studied or trained in Japan under the policy. They have been playing important roles in the bilateral relations between the two countries.
Aku rasa macam aku pernah ke situ.
Nang pernah. Kena dulu.
Kau pernah sakit lah.
Hai Rin.
Deja vu tu. Dah setengah kau dah. Kita tak pernah lalui semua tu. Ulang je dia ulang. Macam kita tak pergi tengah mimpi.
Apai?
Mesti nak turun dulu.
Umi? Gimana kamu, Umi?
Saya buat kat depan Run.
Beginilah keadaan terkini setakat petang ini kediaman asal Rajani Borhan yang runtuh ekoran banjir.
Yang mula retak, lepas retak, yang junjuk kecondongan rumah dalam pukul sebelum tengah hari tadi, yang terus rubuh. Minta tolong segerakanlah negeri rumah tu kerana kami mesti dapat nak pergi sini lah.
Dalam kita membangunkan aplikasi yang memberi kesejahteraan kepada negara, ada yang menyalahgunakannya. Sejak kebelakangan ini, terdapat peningkatan ketara dalam penyebaran maklumat atau berita palsu yang boleh menimbulkan kekeliruan dan kegusaran di kalangan masyarakat. Ancaman berita palsu tanpa verifikasi sumber, fakta dan maklumat memberi impak serta implikasi negatif kepada rakyat dan negara. Sebarang penyebaran berita palsu akan dikenakan tindakan undang-undang serta didakwa mengikut Seksyen 505 Kanun Kesiksaan dan Seksyen 233 Akta Komunikasi dan Multimedia 1998. Denda maksimum RM50,000 atau penjara tidak melebihi 1 tahun atau kedua-duanya dan juga denda selanjutnya setiap hari kesalahan berjumlah RM1,000. Bersama, cegah berita palsu. Sebar fakta, bukan dusta. Tidak pasti, jangan kongsi.
Thank you for staying with me. And now moving on to our global affairs. Given the higher transmissibility of the Omicron variant, Singapore is likely to experience an infection wave that is greater than that of Delta. This was according to the Republic's Multi-Ministry Task Force, or MTF, on COVID-19.
Ang, who is also Singapore's health minister, said at the peak in late October and early November last year, Singapore was registering about 3,000 Delta cases a day, and Omicron could exceed this by a few times. However, Ang said that there is a silver lining, whereby studies coming out of various countries such as South Africa, US, UK, and Canada indicated Omicron infections are less severe than that of Delta. The data has been very consistent, particularly among the vaccinated and also amongst those who are boosted. The minister reiterated that vaccines, especially boosters, retain substantial protection against severe diseases and hospitalizations from Omicron cases. As prevailing evidence indicates that Omicron, while more transmissible, is also less severe, Singapore is revising its healthcare protocols from January 6, 2022.
Kazakh police used stun grenades as hundreds of protesters tried to storm the mayor's office in the country's biggest city, Almaty, in the early hours of Wednesday, January 5, as the protest began in Kazakhstan's oil town of Tanotun on January 2, 2022, after a sudden sharp increase of gas prices, in which, according to the Kazakh government, was due to high demand and price fixing.
Hundreds of protesters were removed by the police from the city's main square using tear gas and stun grenades. Series of explosions can be heard in the vicinity of the city's main square, where the mayor's office is located. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has declared a 2-week state of emergency in the Central Asian nation's biggest city, Almaty, and in the western Mangistau province, both of which have become scenes of mass protest. Protests erupted in several Kazakh cities and towns after the authorities lifted price caps on liquefied petroleum gas, a popular car fuel, allowing prices to surge.
Despite being born just 15 minutes apart, twins Eileen and Alfredo Trujillo have completely different birthdays, with each baby arriving in the world on a different day, month and year. Twins with different birthdays are rare, with the chance of twins being born in different years as 1 in 2 million.
At 11:45 p.m. on New Year's Eve 2021, Fatima Madrigal gave birth to her son Alfredo Antonio Trujillo in Salinas, California. 15 minutes later, as the clock struck midnight, Aileen arrived in the new year.
I didn't realize that I thought we were gonna be born in the same year. I did not know that we're gonna be born in a different year. It was a surprise.
The twins arrive ahead of Madrigal's due date of January 16. For now, the twins will celebrate their birthdays on the same day, the mother said.
Well, I'll explain it to them the best I can, but if they wanna, when they're older, if they wanna, celebrate their birthdays like different years, that's up to them. But right now that they're small and they're with me, they're gonna celebrate their birthday together.
According to Natividad Medical Center, where the twins were born, there are about 120,000 twin births in the United States.
Despite being born without limbs, Abdel Khalik El Wardi's determination and love for football has taken him all the way to coaching a Moroccan youth team. At the age of 7, Al Wardi used to play football with other children in his village, mostly as a goalkeeper. But as he grew older, he instead began observing how the other children played and gave them feedback on their technique.
The miracle coach by his colleagues and supporters, El Wardi is known for being firm but fair on the field.
المسيره ديالي التدريبيه في 2010 مع الفرق ديال الاحياء والحمد لله من 2010 حتى 2014 الحمد لله اكتسبت واحد التجربه اللي في الميدان ديال الاحياء اللي شارك فيها في دوريات اقليميه ومحليه والحمد لله السنه الماضيه الحمد لله تمت المنادله عليا من طرف الاداره ديال فريق رجاء بن قرير اللي كلفوني باش نشرف على الفئات الصغرى ديال الفريق.
He hopes to move on to coaching higher-level championships, but needs qualification in order to do so.
تنتمنى من الجامعة الملكية المغربية لكرة القدم أن تلتفت لهاد الناس هادو باش يدوزوا الدبلومات ديالهم، لأنه أنا أشهد على الكلمة اللي غادي نقول بأنه هو أصلا تيخدم مع الوليدات من ناحية صارم، من ناحية التدريب ما تيبغيش الانفلاتات هكا في لونطرينمون، ومنقب كينقب على الوليدات اللي كويريه وكيطعم حتى الفروق هنا المحليه ديال بنكرير.
A Singaporean father finds himself in deep debt of 20,000 Singaporean dollars after his 17-year-old daughter spent the said amount on a popular game, Genshin Impact. Lim Cheng Mong discovered the incident when he was notified by the bank that issued his credit card, which was linked to his daughter's Grab account.
Lim's credit card was linked mainly to cover his daughter's transportation expenses. Fortunately, half of the amount was returned to him by the bank as a sign of goodwill. For some background, Genshin Impact is an open-world concept game with a gacha system that allows players to purchase in-game currency to collect new weapons and characters. The game's developer, MiHoYo, introduces new weapons and characters in every update of the game, where many would be spending their wealth in order to have their go on many of these heroes. The company have also confirmed that they made $2.1 billion from Google Play and the Apple App Store. This, however, excludes revenue from their PC, PlayStation, and the third-party Android storefronts.
Well, that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight, and as always, thank you for tuning in to your local news tonight. Here with me, Shosha Mato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good morning.